I stood there huddled against the cold night air. My breath exhaled in huge blooms of billowy mist, and then slowly faded like an old memory. I pulled my trench coat tighter as I gazed upon the starry-filled sky above. It was a sleepless night, and I was walking outside to clear my head of a fairy tale romance of not so long ago. The moment she walked into the room, she had my heart. It was a chance meeting where stars collided and fate found her in my arms. Now I find myself surrendering to that recollection of memories where, for a brief moment, I knew what it was like to have loved. In the beginning, we started out as casual friends where we would rendezvous at her place to share a glass of wine or a lush cup of coffee before meeting up with our fellow acquaintances. We were an eclectic group that relished hanging out in the downtown district called the Meadows. It was an area dotted by antique shops and quaint cafes brimming beautiful lights, music, and lots of ambience. We had just said goodnight to our friends and began our walk home. I lived near her, so it was customary that we would share each other's company as we meandered down the city streets back to her place. A slight fog rolled across the cobblestone streets, followed by an icy chill that would envelop us as we passed by the alleyways. I felt her move in closer as she clutched my arm to brace herself against the cold breeze. I offered her my coat and placed it around her shoulders. However, I felt something different in her gaze that made me feel a bit uncomfortable. She was stunningly beautiful in the pale moonlight, and her eyes glistened as if kissed by dew. The mist that hung in the air turned into a slight rain that dampened the picturesque evening. Neither of us had an umbrella, so we dashed the remaining block to her place and huddled under the canopy of the doorstep. She said goodnight as she gave me back my coat and gave me a lingering look that made me feel uneasy, and then she leaned in and kissed me. I was stunned but elated at the same time. It was a lingering and passionate kiss. The lushness of her embrace and the feel of her lipstick and lip gloss sealed my fate as I melted into her arms. For that brief moment, I was suspended in time, and all that mattered in the world faded into the sound of the beating rain. I reluctantly pulled back from her embrace and figured maybe she drank too much and she unknowingly got lost in a moment. I said goodnight and shuffled down the road to my place, unaware that the rain was now pouring down in drenching sheets. My mind was a landscape of scattered puzzle pieces that I struggled to put together. I was happy but confused by what had happened. Did we skip the hearts and flowers and just plunged headfirst into a relationship without any courtship? I tried to brush it aside, but my mind would not surrender that moment. The last time I looked over at the clock, it read 3:13 a.m. That is when sleep found me, and the endless replay of the evening came to a halt. My much-needed slumber was abruptly awakened by the ringing of my phone. I reached over to grab the phone off the nightstand and noticed it was now 11:30 in the morning, and I was relieved that it was Saturday. I raspily said hello but perked up my voice once I realized it was her. I was hoping that she forgot about the evening and we could just go about our normal routine. She began by thanking me for a wonderful night and asked if I could stop by her place later. We agreed to meet up at 5 to grab a bite to eat at our favorite diner. I arrived at her place and she was stunningly dressed with a long blue dress and gorgeous dangling earrings. I was awkwardly unprepared for such a stunning display that I found myself at a loss for words. We caught a cab and arrived at our favorite restaurant. We were enjoying a glass of wine before our meal when she suggested that we start dating on a regular basis. I eagerly accepted, since I had a crush on her from the first day we met. However, something in the back of my mind told me that this wasn't going to end well. The rest of the evening went spectacular. We enjoyed our dinner and laughed a lot. I told her how I always had feelings for her, but was unsure of her feelings and was just content with being friends. She expressed that she knew how I had felt, but was hesitant because she was conflicted about a relationship spoiling our friendship. She said she finally decided to give us a chance and stated that she felt that our friendship would still prevail if we decided that things didn't work out. I knew in my heart that I would do anything to keep her as a cherished friend, but a pain tore through my soul at the thought of something this unbelievable would end. The next few months I was falling deeper in love as we spent more time together. Each passing moment, every passionate embrace, and each lingering kiss, I was losing myself to her charms. We shared many wonderful moments together, taking long walks, watching old movies, and sleeping in late at her place. At times I found myself dreamily relishing a never-ending romantic dream that I never wanted to leave. Time was suspended as I found myself lost in her arms. I knew in my heart that I was falling too deep and too fast, but at the same time I couldn't help myself. The years I spent hanging on her every word, wishing she would notice me as more than a friend, had finally come to fruition. In my heart I was elated, but back in my mind I was deeply afraid. Several months had passed and things were progressing quite well, and I was even thinking of asking her to marry me in the spring of the following year. I had even been secretly setting aside money to buy her a ring. I was a fool so in love that I didn't see it coming when she sadly told me that our relationship wasn't working for her. It was the tired old cliché of "it's not you, it's me." She said she enjoyed our time together, but she said she thought she would feel something more from our relationship. To say I was crushed was an understatement. I felt a huge blow to my heart. However, on the outside I kept my composure together and nodded that I understood where she was coming from and respected her decision. I finished my glass of wine and said goodnight as I headed to the door. She said, "See you around," with a half smile as I grabbed my coat. I gently closed the door as I left her apartment. The beautiful dream had come to an end, and at her doorstep I left my heart. The next few weeks I struggled to keep it together when we were out with our friends. I did my best to act as if it was just a fond memory that I created in a feverish dream. However, I still longed for those treasured moments we spent together huddled together on her sofa. After a long while my pain subsided, and we were back to being old friends again. She was just as beautiful as when I first met her, and a pleasure to still be around. I would still walk her back to her place as if nothing happened, but deep in my mind the memory of her kiss still haunted me as I dropped her off at her apartment. From friends to lovers to friends again is not something I never imagined would happen, but fate can be cruel and shatter our fondest dreams. In retrospect, I know that going into the relationship that she wasn't as committed as I was at the time. However, for a brief period my dreams came true. These days I am still content with just being her friend, and I fondly reflect on those cherished moments we spent together as a couple. I can't blame myself for falling as hard as I did at that moment, and looking back I have no regrets that I gave her all of my heart. If you like this story, it is based on a song called "All of My Heart." It is a classic love song by the British band ABC and released in 1982. The song's emotional weight and vivid portrayal of unconditional love make it an enduring favorite for romantic music enthusiasts. If you have never heard the song, then I recommend you look it up on YouTube and watch the video by ABC to get the full appreciation of this classic heartfelt song by an underrated 80s band. Please discuss in the comments below any memories you have of this song. If you're listening to it for the first time, then feel free to let us know what you think. I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed to my channel for more song-inspired stories. Until then, I hope you find that special song that speaks to your heart and takes you away to an endearing memory.